Good afternoon. This is the Kalkashou Parish Public Briefing for Hurricane Laura. Today is August 31st, 4 p.m. My name is Brian Beam, Kalkashou Parish Administrator, and we are having this briefing at the Parish Government Building to update everyone here and not in the parish on the latest information regarding our response efforts and specifically for our citizen needs. We'll get right into it. We want to go through a lot of information, but we want to be quick about it as well. So we're going to ask Dick Grimion to come forward, Emergency Preparedness Director for Kalkashou Parish.
Thank you, Brian. Yesterday, we talked about the two points of distribution that were opened in Lake Charles at the Civic Center and in Sulphur at McMurray Park. Today, we'd like to announce additional locations. Starting tomorrow at 8 a.m., Vinton at Vinton High School, DeQuincy at the Railroad Museum, Ioway at the Outlet Mall, and let's see, one more, Moss Bluff at Walmart Marketplace. So those will be opening tomorrow. We're going to continue to work on this list. We know that there's other locations that need to be addressed, and we are working on solutions for those. So we'll be announcing those as they become available. And that's my report, Brian.
We will, if there are any questions for each speaker.
I was just going to suggest you clarify the times again and what people can get if they go to those centers.
I have to get back with you on the closing time. I've got the start time, but not the closing. 8 o'clock, and that will be, it will be at least food and water. Eventually, all of the sites will have ice and tarps as well.
This time we'll ask Sheriff Tony Mancuso to come forth, and also I believe he's got Chief Caldwell, Chief of Police, City of Lake Charles.
Thanks, Brian. We have kind of the same report as yesterday. We have same issues are going on. It's manageable. You know, I think I said yesterday, although we have some reports of looting, I know that we have one arrest from last night. The city has two. They have a narcotics arrest and a vehicle theft. So the other police departments are not reporting anything today of any significance. We are having some domestic violence issues that are going on that we're dealing with also. I think all of the agencies have reported some domestic violence issues. I know yesterday I told you that we had a murder-suicide. I reported that wrong. The female who is the victim is still alive and actually talking to us after being shot in the head. So we're progressing obviously with that investigation, but we have not, Teresa, sent a news release out on that as of yet. We just have not. So I think because we're not sure, we again thought we had a murder-suicide and our victim obviously is still alive. So I'm sorry about that.
What part of the parish was that in?
Say that again?
What part of the parish was
Excuse me,
that?
that was in Moss Bluff, in the Moss Bluff area. So, and then the report on the double homicide, a couple days before in Ioway, we have arrested a person of interest, although we have not arrested him in connection with the murder. We're kind of, again, limping along with our investigation because our crime lab is down, so we've had to, Acadiana Crime Lab is doing all of our DNA and all of our forensic evidence that we're turning in, so it's going to take a little longer than normal for us. So hopefully when we get that back, we'll wrap that investigation up too. I know the roads are still dangerous. I'll let Sean talk more about that too. I think he's got some things to say. That the roads are dark at night. Be extremely cautious. Lots of law enforcement out there. We keep getting teams and teams and teams of law enforcement from other sheriff's departments. We got a I can't remember if it's a 30 or 40-man strike team from the Louisiana State Police that rolled in today to help us. They spent the last couple of days getting acclimated. Colonel Reeves and the governor have really committed resources for us, along with the National Guard, which I usually call up. Colonel, I'll call you up here in a little bit, but you know, we are reinforcing our law enforcement efforts. I still say, although we're having issues, it's less than a normal day for us in Kalkashou Parish. So we're still having wrecks because people are not adhering to the four-way stop signs. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. And then our curfew, 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. is the curfew. You know, you're going to get stopped. We're going to question you. We're going to ask you what you're doing, and it's time. Don't linger around. Certainly, if you're on your property and you're doing work on your house, that's not an issue. We're talking about people driving around and looking and just either looking for trouble or looking just to sightsee. Not acceptable and not going to be tolerated. So, Sean?
Sure. Thanks, Sheriff. Yeah, the curfew, you know, we're going to stop you. Law enforcement is going to stop you, and we're going to check out what you're doing. So if you're on the road, expect to be stopped. Traffic is dangerous. The sheriff touched on it. I said in an earlier deal, and I want to repeat it because those of you who live here know where the intersections are. A mass of red lights may no longer be at that intersection and in the air, and all those assets that we have from out of town don't know that it's a four-way stop, and they may not stop. So guys, be safe. Stop at these. Take your time. These roads are dangerous. Today we had on Prian Lake Road, an 18-wheeler jerked down some lines, trapped some people in a parking lot. It is still very dangerous out there. Another thing about the traffic, if you don't have to be on the road, please don't. We're not telling you, the men and women in here are not telling you not to go to the store, to the hardware store and get the things you need. We're not telling you not to go out and get gas, but do so and be responsible. The amount of traffic is hampering the recovery effort. The more traffic on the road, the longer it's going to take us to get electricity. So we need everyone to be responsible and think about that. I got nothing more, Sheriff.
Colonel Conrad, I told you our partners they're doing things for both of us. They have a side that's taking care of things for the parish, but on the law enforcement side too. So the National Guard has really got a lot of assets, and so they come up every day when we do our briefing and are part of us. Colonel Conroy is going to give the briefing for, I guess, all of that aspect of it.
I will. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Beam. Really pleased to report lily pad actions are continuing out of Chenault. We moved. It's going down. We moved about 18 people yesterday, but those are going to continue on until they're no longer needed. In the Parish area, we've cleared about 1,211 miles of road, 295 miles increase from yesterday. On the security side, we've got 503 security out there, with the bulk of it here in Kalkashou. Working with the sheriff at 70 fixed sites now, including Chenault Air Force Base. That's my old life talking there. Chenault Airfield, which had, as you know, a large number of fencing went down. But those static sites that we're covering are pharmacies, pawn shops, gun shops. You know, all the stuff that really need a good presence outside. Even this location right here. Still have the pod going on at Lake Charles Civic Center, and we're going to be in the process, I don't know the location yet, of shifting the pod in Sulphur at the mayor's request. It's still going to be in Sulphur. It's going to be closer, but it's going to give folks an opportunity to have a much smoother flow through and give us a chance to service more folks as it happens. At this point, we've also moved the command element of the 256 to Kalkashou Parish, right downtown here. So, pending your questions, as your requests come in, we're happy to continue to support those.
If you explain, what the public can get if they go to some of your sites, and also you were talking about clearing the roads. I had to, drive a few blocks myself, and I just want to know, is it safe to assume that none of the electrical lines that are hanging down are charged? And is there any advice as to whether, I know you're running a risk when you drive underneath something that's slanted, but, any advice for people how to maneuver around when there are still wires hanging and trees and utility poles slanted?
Yeah, great. I'll work backwards from your questions. As far as things sitting slanted sideways, that's unnatural. I wouldn't drive under anything that's leaning over the road. I think that's a pretty safe decision. I would not roll over any power lines, whether you think they're charged or not charged. Electricity is coming up. I just drove down Broad Street, and as you can see, there's a number of bucket trucks in place. They're replacing poles right now. So I think discretion is by far the better part of valor when you stay away from those lines. As far as what's at pods, it's generally for what we offer, and the Red Cross will brief their offerings, would be tarps, ice, civilian MREs, and water. Right now, I'll be perfectly frank, we're short on ice statewide, and we're trying to get more ice down. So it's tarps, water, and MREs, and ice as we can get it, and the Red Cross has additional things. Did I cover all your questions?
I think so.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Awesome.
Not that I can think of.
All right.
Alan Wayne, right up. Please, next.
No, actually, I have a guest. That's okay. That's okay. Very helpful, gentlemen. Before we get to an update on the road debris clearance, we have a couple of guests today, and we appreciate them being here. I'm going to let our OEP Director, Dick Grimion, introduce both of them.
Thanks, Brian. We have a surprise visit by Tony Robinson. He's the regional administrator for FEMA Region 6, and also Jim Wascom, the GOSEP director. So if you guys would come up, maybe first Tony, if you could come make a few comments.
Thank you, Dick. First, I'd like to thank the local officials, emergency officials, your emergency responders out here for the job they've been doing, they did before the storm, heroic efforts during the storm, very little loss of life. And once again, very significant damage out there. We've been out for the last several days, being around the area, and so significant damage. So from the president to our administrator to the men and women of FEMA, our job is here to be able to support the state and local government and helping you recover from this tragic event. A couple ways you can do that. You can apply for FEMA assistance by calling 1-800-621-3362. For the hearing impaired, it's 800-462-7585. You can also go to disasterassistance.gov, or from a smartphone, you can download the FEMA app to be able to apply and also get information about your claim. Want to talk a little bit about, I know there's some information about there. People have applied online and they think that they've been denied. And so the language that we use in our assistance comes back when you apply, and if you have insurance, it's really a pause. We don't want to send you assistance only to ask that back when we find out you were covered by insurance. The law that we operate on says we cannot duplicate insurance benefits. So when you get your insurance information, you should be able to return that to FEMA, and that helps us process what you're eligible for, whether that's FEMA assistance or assistance from another federal agency. So cannot stress that enough. When you get that insurance information, please provide that back to us so we can make eligibility determinations for you. And that should have been in the information you provided if you read past that denial. So please make sure that you spread the word on that's vitally, vitally important for us to be able to process and look at eligibility. We also we will be working with other agencies like the Small Business Administration. So you may get a packet that says apply for the Small Business Administration. Fill that information out. That's also important for us to continue on in our assistance process. We are helping the state. We are providing financial assistance and resources for pod operations, for generators, for emergency power, And we're also providing some funding for them to do the non-congregate shelter that they're doing. And my hat's off to the state. That was a mission that's come about through the COVID environment, and they really have done a great job at that. So Jim Wascom, call you up this time.
Thanks, Tony. First of all, I want to thank Tony and his team. They've been with us since about, I don't know, I think it was Sunday before the Thursday strike. So Tony's got a great team. He's had it on the ground. Look, I want to thank Dick Grimion and his team too. To go through something like this and for his team to stay in the fight, y'all got really kicked in the teeth. And so my heart goes out to all the residents of Kalkashou Parish. I flew over it with the governor several days ago, and it's the worst that I've seen. So suffice it to say, all of the resource requests that Colonel Conroy talked about that are coming from Director Grimion's office, we'll move heaven and earth to get these to you and push them here as fast and as quick as we can as they're asked for. I will ask to put this out for the public. Of the 14 deaths we've had thus far, 8 of them have been to carbon monoxide poisoning. People, please, I can't stress enough, listen to your local officials. Do not put those generators inside your home or your shed or next to a window that can vent into your house. It will kill you. It's a silent killer. So don't do that. I will tell you the other thing. The governor got a briefing this afternoon from Entergy. It's going to be a while on the power, ladies and gentlemen. 500 and something of those big steel structure towers were destroyed. Those feeder lines come in here to Lake Charles. So I know it's tough to be patient. It's very hot, but it's going to be a while before you get power back in here in the Kalkashou. So we will continue to push water and food wherever the parish tells us to and the municipalities tell us to keep up with that. I think you're still under a mandatory evacuation or evacuation order, so listen to your local officials. And like Colonel Conroy said, don't drive under power lines. Certainly don't go into standing water. And again, we're here to support, and just our heart goes out to you. And just hang in there. I was telling the Deputy Director, Paul DeStout, military term, we will improve our foxhole a little bit every day. We'll get a little bit more improvement every day, and we'll just keep building that as we go, and we'll be here to work for you. And I'll be happy to take any questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
If you could talk a little bit about what emergency housing is available.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know if this is one person or 10 people or
Right.
way more, but
Yep.
but we're being told that some people are being kicked out of their hotel rooms because we are either not under a mandatory evacuation anymore or something
ma'am.
like that.
Ma'am, if they can go to text LA Shelter to 898-211. That's LA Shelter. Text it to 898-211. And if you're in need of shelter, they will tell you where to go. We are sourcing at the state. Another thing Mr. Robinson and President Trump did for us is they turned on, under Category B, emergency protective measures, they turned on non-congregate sheltering. Right now, as we speak, I don't have an update from this morning at 10:30, but we had almost 8,000 Louisiana citizens in hotel rooms, mainly in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, some in Shreveport. There are, we believe, 11,000 Louisianians in Texas hotels, over 4,000 heads of households. So it's that's how they track them over there. It's kind of hard for us to tell. But for any shelter questions they have, that's the place they go to get those questions answered. There's a couple other myths I want to dispel while I'm up here. The state is not turning back insurance adjusters. First of all, I don't control reentry for the parish. That's something Sheriff Mancuso and his team does. We are not telling insurance adjusters not to come in here. Similarly, we are not telling linemen and utility crews not to come to the state. So I've had to deal with more of those rumors than I care to, and it's just not true. So we've had more utility crews here than we've ever had, even since Katrina. I mean, that's just not true. So with that, I think, any more questions?
Well, I mean, what do you do if your insurance company is not calling you to, tell you when your appointment with an adjuster is? And is the assistance for FEMA primarily for people who either don't have insurance or extremely underinsured? Because time is so precious to so many people. Should they just not bother to register with FEMA if they
No,
have?
that's a terrible idea.
Okay.
And first of all, keep trying to contact your insurance company. They will get back to you. As you might imagine, they're probably swamped right now. As I think Administrator Robinson did a much better job than I can about telling you about disaster assistance. Register, read the whole fine print, pass the denied piece, and it will tell you how to do it. Your first line of offense, if you will, is insurance. If you have insurance, that's going to get you started. If you're underinsured, there's a piece of that you may be eligible for. But again, you got to if you got insurance, go that route first, and then you can follow up later with FEMA. I think, Tony, there was about 60,000 people already in Louisiana that's registered for individual assistance through FEMA. So that's good news. So that's
Already $2 million that's been paid out.
over $2 million has been paid out to those individuals. So I would tell you, just keep trying. Don't give up, even though they give you a denial. Or you look at that piece, as Mr. Robinson said earlier. So anything else?
Probably, but
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Dick. Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for making those comments. I'll turn it back over to Brian now.
We appreciate both gentlemen coming from the state and federal levels, because nothing like being here to understand what our issues are. We'll next go to the road debris clearance issue. I believe there's a lot of good news there, and to deliver that, Alan Wainwright, Kalkashou Parish Public Works Director, is with us today. Again, we appreciate his help.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, the report's getting better each day. Just to summarize, I've been able to contact all the other local or municipal level public works directors or counterparts. Overall, we're approaching about 95% of the roads open, pushed if we would call it. So that's a great number. There's still problems out there. A push does not mean that there's not wires overhanging or those sort of issues. What it means is the debris or the vegetation has been moved to the shoulder. So that was our first goal. That process is going really well. I'd like to give you a number. If you happen to be in that 5% of the area that's still got vegetation somehow, then I would like you to call this number, and we will begin to target your area specifically. So we're just trying to find those last remaining spots. So 337-721-3700. That's our office number. We are standing up that phone line. We will, if you're in the city or somewhere like that, we'll dispatch you to the appropriate public works or take care of it ourselves. Second task is signs, trying to get the signs up. Several people have reiterated that, the traffic is thick. There's nothing you can use in terms of signage that gives you an indication when you're coming up on an intersection or anything like that. Lights are down. So we have made a lot of progress on getting the contractors here to begin that. Now that we have some ability to find where those signs need to be, that task is beginning to take shape. It's going to be a little while. Again, it'll be a phased approach, stop signs, major intersections first, and we'll come back and do more things as there's openings along the roadway. Another thing we consider critical in our operations is the trash routes. We are focused on that. I want to let people be reassured we are focused on trying to get the, your standard weekly trash route back up. So the first task, obviously, is to get the roads open, then to try and get the trash route. So we have height and clearance. With, we was talking about there's wires still out there, so we're working all those. We have identified many of the locations where we have to target wires that remain to be the obstruction. We will be forwarding that information to Entergy, giving them places to go target and ideally get our routes situated. One problem we may have, especially in unincorporated areas, but it probably in all the municipalities as well. Some people may have lost their can in the storm one way or another. For people serviced by the Kalkashou Parish contract, those especially the waste management number to get a new can to your site so that it can be part of the route is 337-436-7229. If you're in a municipality that's not served by the contractor that we use, call get in touch with your provider, if you would, and get ready to get that can. And when the routes are able to be started, we will you'll be able to get service. So it's just something to do along the process. Last thing for my report is facility cleanup. We have initiated facility cleanup today through the National Guard. Those guys are doing a great job. We had 60 sites, well ahead of what they could probably get to today. I know they knocked out a significant percentage of those today. It was a report that I got just before I got here. So at least 20 of those sites have been done. They're assessing, and then they're going and doing them. So the report there is really good. That's Parish public facilities, and they are beginning to task into the school system, those facilities. So our goal there is just to get these facilities cleaned up and ready to be worked on. They all need work, heavy work, but first step is just to clean up the grounds and police it up and get it ready. So that basically concludes my report. If there's any questions, be glad to.
If there is an overhead hazard, do you guys work on that? Or if it's a tree in someone's yard that went like this and now everybody who has to drive up and down that street has to drive under it to get to their house, who takes care of that?
So just again, if it's all the electrical grid is handled by the electrical companies, that's the areas we're targeting, wanting to get those locations to them. We are identifying those ourselves and forwarding to that. Many times when there's a tree left, a hanger, we call it like that, we've identified some of those, but many times that's associated with a line one way or another. So those last remaining ones in that category, both those categories are our last remaining targets to, sort of get at least a 13, 14-foot clearance so that those trucks can pass.
Okay,
And
thank
that
you.
would take care of the rest of the vehicles as well, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to just briefly touch on utility. This, at a daily level, I'm going to really not get in a lot of detail because the main story is everybody's without power, and it's going to be weeks, not days. And that's really the short version. How many weeks? It depends. It's more a matter of where which area they're working on. Something that struck me, I didn't realize it, and if any of the folks with the Guard of the State, if I get this wrong, let me know. I think I heard Jim Wascom with GOSEP say there are more utility crews here than there were after Hurricane Katrina, not Rita, which gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. And the big story, which he also mentioned, several hundred transmission towers have to be rebuilt. Those are those extremely large fixtures or edifices, really, that get it to the substations and eventually all to our homes. Well, that is a huge amount of work, and that's, I think, the reason the big delay. The good news is there's so many crews that when they get those fixed, I suspect a lot of the homes will be ready to accept that. But as we get any updates that from Entergy or Beauregard Electric that are have more news, we certainly will pass that on. They give us statements each day. Water systems across the parish is a better story. Still a lot of work to do. I know Mayor Hunter's going to be talking later. The challenges in some of the areas are bigger than others, but I'm pleased to say a lot of progress has been made throughout the parish, actually, in water systems coming back online, and that is a big deal. It's allowing our people to have a little better chance of getting in and taking care of their things. And I know it's a very brief report, but if there's any questions on utilities, we can certainly follow up directly, or the media can with Entergy or Beauregard Electric.
Do you still want people to boil their water?
Our understanding from the water districts and the cities is that the answer is yes. If your water is back on, The boil advisories are in effect, I believe, Mayor, until that particular city or district says otherwise. Is that fair enough to say? Thank you, Alan. Yes, the answer is yes. Very important. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, next we're going to get a little more detail about some of the individual assistance from the agencies providing them. And as we've had before a few days, we appreciate him being here. From FEMA, Jerry Stoller.
Thank you, Administrator Beam. First, I wanted to share, just update you on how we're doing with the registrations. Director Wascom mentioned over 60,000, actually 62,700 households have registered in all the designated parishes. And what I can report today is that more than 45,000 of those are residents of Kalkashou Parish. Okay, so the word is getting out. Again, 1-800-621-3362 or www.disasterassistance.gov or on the FEMA app. That's the best way to get the process started. Mr. Robinson mentioned the letter that those that apply for FEMA assistance will receive that will notify them of their eligibility. Some of you that apply will get a letter that says you will be denied. That is not the final answer. Again, as Mr. Robinson said, you need to read the entire letter. And one of the most common reasons for a household to be denied FEMA assistance is they just have not been able to complete that insurance process. It's very understandable during this particular type of an event where it's so widespread, but you need to continue to work through all that. And again, read the letter and make sure you understand what has caused you to not be eligible for FEMA assistance. Some other reasons that a household may not qualify: being able to demonstrate proof of occupancy of the damaged home, proof of your own identification. Mr. Robinson mentioned the Small Business Administration loan application. It's very important that every household complete that application. And I realize that many of you watching this right now may not be interested in undertaking another loan, even if it is a low interest loan from the Small Business Administration. By completing this application, there is no obligation to take the loan. But we need that information in order to determine your eligibility for some of the other forms of assistance that we have, such as providing some assistance to replace some of your personal property that was damaged. I mentioned yesterday you may have transportation needs, medical expenses, daycare, transportation, as I said, and also moving costs or storage. You may have to put some of your belongings in storage. All those costs could be eligible for FEMA assistance, but in order for us to determine that, we need to have that small business application loan completely filled out. So please pay attention to that. Another common reason is that we need to understand that the home that was damaged was the primary residence. Okay, we do not provide disaster assistance to a secondary home that may have been damaged. And then any documents you provide, any official documents, must have your signature on that. So I know that's a lot of information to take. We will continue to provide the parish with this information for them to post on their website. But again, that letter you receive, if it says that you have been denied assistance, is not the end of the road. It may just, again, be an intermediate step until additional documentation can be provided. One other accomplishment I wanted to share for today is, as you know, we do have more FEMA staff arriving in the parish. I had 6 FEMA employees working with the National Guard at the pods today, and they were able to interact with more than 400 households and provide information about what I've just talked about registering for federal assistance and other forms of federal help that will be available in the weeks and months ahead. So I look forward to continuing to get more information out to even more households in the coming days and weeks. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
You mentioned the letters. Are the letters online, or is there any mail delivery service?
Now, this is a formal mail delivery, and one of the things that I discussed a couple of days ago is that those that apply for federal assistance, we need to have a good mailing address in order to contact you. And I appreciate that question, because another service that is available is that if you hadn't heard from FEMA, if you've registered and you haven't received a letter and you want to get an update on your application, you can call our helpline at the same number, 1-800-621-3362, and just give your FEMA identification number, and you can receive an update over the phone on the status of your application.
Okay, because you know that there are older people who are not tech savvy and are not going to go online to check these things. So
Right.
if I'm assuming there's no mail delivery, so really their only option is to call on the phone if they can't go online.
The helpline would be a great place to start. And we were going to have more staff in the parish, and there will be an opportunity to get to, we can come and work with them, right, and talk to them a little bit about the application and some of the issues they may be having.
And did you have anything else to add concerning the housing? Because housing seems to be an issue for...
Oh, it's going to be a big issue, but the most important thing, and the parish administrator talked about this, right? We need to have that water restored and power. We got to have power back in the parish before we can bring any temporary housing in here. So we have a long way to go for that longer term housing solution. Now, Mr. Wascom was talking about the sheltering that's going on, okay? Once that sheltering program ends, there will be some temporary additional temporary sheltering assistance provided by FEMA for those households that qualify, that will enable them to stay for a longer period of time in a hotel.
Okay, so if I'm living in my car right now because I don't know where to go, what should I do?
You should, the number that Director Wascom gave about sheltering, that should be the first step at this time, and to register with FEMA.
Okay, I'm not living in my car, in case you wondered.
All right.
Jerry, we have a question, and maybe you mentioned it, but what about renters' eligibility for FEMA assistance?
Yeah, the renters are eligible, okay? They need to register, and again, for contents and a full suite of other needs assistance items that I mentioned, they should also register with FEMA. That's a good question. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, kind of in the same category, Joshua, I see you here. We're going to ask Joshua. I'm sorry, I get Joachim. I want to Joshua Joachim. He's with the Red Cross. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Beam. So American Red Cross is supporting the community right now in three very specific ways. We're feeding in all kinds of sites across the community. I'll talk about those in a minute. We're doing supply distribution. I'll talk about what kind of supplies we're doing for emergency cleanup. And then we're also doing damage assessment in the parish and surrounding parishes. And that's also an important part of our mission, and I'll share why. So right now, we got some good news to report. We're actually spreading out our resources across the parish. And with that effort in mind, we're going to be adding 3 new feeding sites and locations to feed twice a day, both at noon, and we're changing one of our evening feeding times from 6 p.m. and we're dropping it back to 5 p.m. to help people and also along with the parish curfew system and timelines. So, and because we're able to move more out into the community even more, we're going to pivot away from supporting the Civic Center here at tomorrow and possibly moving forward as we start to go out and work in the community a little bit further. we can talk about it. If there's any questions about that, I can share why. But here's where we will be. So we're going to be at 2000 Moling Street in Lake Charles. We're already there, and we're going to be still there. At 300 South Hazel Street in Sulphur. And at those two locations, we'll be doing supplies at noon until we run out the supplies every day. And we'll also be delivering lunch at 12 o'clock noon and 5 p.m. dinner. And those are hot meals. So a little bit about the supplies we'll be distributing. Those are tarps, mops, brooms, buckets, rakes, shovels, gloves. We also have some water. We'll have snacks at those locations as well. And we'll also be doing the distribution of snacks and water throughout the community utilizing our emergency response vehicles. So we'll be doing that too. And this just, right now it's random patterns based on which streets are being cleaned and which streets are not being cleaned and how we can access those. We're going to try to stick primarily to the fixed sites and those times because people know when we're going to be there, how to get the resources, what resources we're providing. And then as we're able to get in more and more into the area, we may pivot away a little bit from those sites. People are in their communities cleaning up. We can get to them mobily. Tomorrow, here's the changes that I mentioned earlier. We're going to be moving to Huber Park at 2401 4th Avenue in Lake Charles. That will replace, as an example, the Civic Center support site. And then we're also going to be at the Market Basket Shopping Center at 935 3rd Avenue in Lake Charles. And then we're also adding another feeding site at 900 Horridge Street in Vinton, Louisiana. So those are those three sites, and those will be feeding sites. And just last comment that all of our services are free. I just want to make that clear. They're free to all, and they're primarily provided by volunteers. So if there's any questions, I'll take any questions.
I'm sorry, what is it, 900 Horridge Street?
Horridge Street in Vinton, Louisiana.
Is there something in particular there? Or is it just a parking lot or something?
I know it's a parking lot area because we'll be moving vehicles in, and we'll stage those vehicles there for the time period of lunch and dinner, and then we'll be moving them out. So we try to find sites that are big and wide like a parking lot, and we're able to move around there. I'm sorry, I don't have a specific park or name or something for that.
No, I just wanted to make it clear. Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure, no, go ahead.
And just to keep people updated on our changing sites, because as we try to continue to grow into the community in different places, and based on cleanups and having to move things, you can follow us at our Twitter and our Facebook handles at ARC Louisiana, at ARC Louisiana. And you can also follow the Parish and the Parish website, the Parish social media and the city social media sites as we work to update with them as well and follow those locations. So thank you.
The fire districts and fire departments throughout Kalkashou have asked me to make an announcement. They notified us earlier today that the state fire marshal has issued a burn ban for all of Kalkashou Parish. And the reasons may be obvious, but we have a very limited ability to put fires out with our water system. So that is a directive from the state, and it probably covers some of the other areas in the state. But I want to make sure everybody knows that for all of Kalkashou Parish, a burn ban is in effect already. And it will continue until terminated. I want to mention one. We're going to get to Mayor Hunter will come up in just a second. Bob Hardy, Mayor of Westlake, has an announcement. Separately from the food and ice pods, as referred to by the National Guard, City of Westlake has an area for food and ice distribution at 701 Johnson Street in Westlake. That is the First Methodist Church in Westlake, 701 Johnson Street. This time we will hear from Mayor Nick Hunter of Lake Charles.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. Really recapping a few things that have already been said, but introducing a few new bits of information. We've spoken about traffic, and traffic continues to be an issue. Again, not only if you're not concerned about your fellow man, be concerned about yourself, because flat tires are very prevalent right now. Flat tires are inconvenient on a good day. They're extremely inconvenient right now. Our water system, we continue to have questions about Lake Charles's water system. I had someone say to me the other day, well, and by the other day I mean yesterday, forgive me, it seems like last few days have been a few months. But they said to me, well, I had water after Rita, why don't I have water now? Ladies and gentlemen, strongest hurricane to hit the state of Louisiana in the last 150 years. So many trees have snapped so many water lines. And so it's not only a matter of our water plants, it's the thousands of water breaks throughout the city that we have to go and repair. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Our city staff is doing an amazing job right now, but we're not only relying on city staff, we're bringing in outside contractors to help us locate these breaks and repair them. One of the most important numbers I can give out to citizens right now is 491-1442. If you have a break in your line, please turn off your water meter, call that number and report it. If you are noticing a large pool of water next to your house, at a neighbor's house, or literally there are at times where you will see water spewing from the ground, call those locations in. Very important. I have been traversing the streets for several hours a day since the day of the storm. Ladies and gentlemen, the streets in Lake Charles are 95% clear right now. They are traversable. It's not to say that they are safe, but they are traversable. I can't tell you the amount of work and toil that has gone into getting to that point. 4 days out from the strongest hurricane to hit the state of Louisiana in 150 years, and 95% of our streets are cleared to the point where they are traversable. Entergy has already made their statement, and we continue to hear from Entergy that it will be weeks. But I was very happy today to see, for instance, on Highway 14, Entergy was out there removing those power lines that were down in the road. Also on, I believe it was Kirkman Street. I was driving down Kirkman Street, and I saw Entergy contractors who were clearing those power lines out from the roads. So progress is happening. I have spoken with so many elected officials from around the country, from around the state. I particularly want to thank the mayors of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. I have spoken with both of them, and they are being so gracious, and the people of Baton Rouge and New Orleans are being so gracious in welcoming our citizens. There are thousands of people from Lake Charles housed this evening in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. To those communities, thank you for welcoming our citizens with open arms. I have spoken with the CEO of Entergy. I have spoken with the CEO of our contractor that's clearing the debris removal, Crowder Gulf. I have spoken with the CEO of CenterPoint Energy, and I have expressed the need and the urgency that we are facing right now in Lake Charles. And ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe these agencies are moving as quickly as humanly possible. The National Guard is here, and as mentioned, Civic Center, Chenault, helping to clear roads, helping to man pawn shops and pharmacies. Those are boots on the ground that are here right now, and they were here very quickly, almost immediately after the storm passed. We've already talked about the Red Cross, United Way, FEMA, Crowder Gulf, Entergy, CenterPoint, Salvation Army. I will call off a few other opportunities for services for people who are still inside the city of Lake Charles. United Way has a drop-off and pickup location at 202 North Ryan Street. It's a warehouse where you can drop off water, food, tarps, cleaning supplies, toiletries, baby items, and people are coming and picking those things up at that location. The Salvation Army is located at 3507 Ryan Street, handing out food, handing out water. On Highway 14 today, I passed up and stopped and said thank you to a Salvation Army truck that was mobilized in front of what used to be, unfortunately, Leonard's Food Quarters, the best pork chop po' boy in Lake Charles. And you pay the extra $1 and have them take the bone out from the pork chop. but they were mobilized in front of Leonard's Food Quarters handing out supplies. I saw Salvation Army yesterday literally driving up and down the streets in Lake Charles, handing out water, handing out food. World of Hope is another organization at the Civic Center. I understand that they're going to be here until Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they're handing out potable water. Southern Baptist Disaster Relief is currently at Trinity Baptist. They'll be there every day from 8 to 4. You can go sign up for help with debris removal out of your yards. They have people that will use a chainsaw for you, and also you can sign up for muck outs in your house. Samaritan's Purse is at Sale Street Baptist, 8 to 5, 7 days a week. Again, help with chainsaws or tarping. And of course, we already mentioned the wonderful things that Red Cross is doing, and United Way will be setting up an additional distribution and food site tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Ralph Wilson Elementary. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 days out from the strongest hurricane to hit the state of Louisiana in 150 years, a hurricane that has done more damage to Lake Charles than Hurricane Rita did 15 years ago, and 4 days out, we are further along in this long process than we were 4 days out from Hurricane Rita. And so I understand that emotions are high. Many people have lost their homes. Many people don't know what the next step is, and I understand that, and I get that. People ask me how I'm doing. I'm doing fine. I'm blessed. My family's okay, and my house is okay. I have zero to complain about. And I know there's a lot of people in this parish, in this city, that are far worse off than I am. But what I promise you is that we are working as hard as humanly possible to pick up the pieces. And again, the strongest hurricane to hit the state of Louisiana in 150 years. And I believe we have the boots on the ground right now, and we are working and coordinating with our partners. Specifically, Red Cross, United Way. I have had the opportunity to meet with those individuals separately, and we have seen gaps where there weren't enough services in one neighborhood, and we made the choice. We pulled the trigger to move them to different locations so that services were more spread out throughout the city. But I also want you to remember, part of manning an operation like that, especially if you're going to be handing out, distributing food and water and supplies, is having a building that is secure enough to store some of that and lock it up at night. And let me tell you, our city assets and many public assets have been shredded to pieces by Hurricane Laura. So the work continues, the mission continues, and again, I truly believe locally there's a lot of teamwork and coordination right now, and we're doing everything humanly possible. Any questions?
I don't know if this would be for you or Brian or both of you, but obviously I know my phone is ringing with the contractor from Panama City, Florida. What is the easiest way to verify the authenticity of someone, a contractor who you are considering allowing to do some work for you?
It's a great question. I would encourage people to look up the Better Business Bureau. I don't have those tips in front of me immediately, but the Better Business Bureau has some great tips on how to make sure that you're not getting scammed from a contractor. And I would also, I know you didn't put this in your question, but I'm going to include another caution to people. There's a lot of low-lifes out there that will prey on people on good days, and unfortunately, there's a lot of low-lifes that will prey on people on bad days. And there's a lot of people that are emotional right now and having a bad day, and if someone offers them something, and maybe they're saying, I just need your bank account number, I just need your social security number, it's unfortunate that there's people that would prey on our citizens that way. If it's too good to be true, it is.
Well, I'm talking about something very basic, like maybe you want to give somebody, $200 to put a tarp on your house. Is there, a way, or just cover your windows or whatever? Is there, like maybe a one-stop shop to just make sure that you're, not dealing with a total con artist?
Brian may have a better answer, but I'll go back to what I said a moment ago. I would encourage you to check out the Better Business Bureau's Facebook page or their website.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to answer part of that question as well, Teresa. Mayor Hunter's answer is the best one in terms, there's just no way every law enforcement agency out there can catch all this. It's just too much. So that's the best way, is to just try to get those Better Business Bureau tips about what not to do. However, after Hurricanes Rita and Ike, the parish put in place, and we are going to do this again, a licensing system for contractors entering the parish for response activities. Now, we have to still work out the details of those, but the idea is to help homeowners, property owners who are trying to get a sense of these people they may hire. If I don't have all the details, but there would be some minimum requirements such as general liability, coverage, evidence, and some contact information, so that if this particular contractor can show that they've got this, you can call it a permit or license to operate here, that gives it just one more step of credibility that may give our residents a little better feeling that this might not be a scam. That's going to be limited. It's not going to protect everybody, but we're working to get that, and I believe that will probably cover most, maybe all of the cities in addition to the unincorporated areas. It's possible tomorrow we'll have more details announced. If not, I think within 2 days.
Thanks.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Our next public briefing will be tomorrow. We are still doing these daily. Tomorrow will be Tuesday, September 1st at 4 p.m.
Can I just ask one more thing?
Sure.
Is there any help for people who cannot live in their homes, who are maybe in a hotel or something, and, you know, they have animals? They don't want to just let their dogs loose in the neighborhood because they can't bring them into a hotel or whatever.
Yes, that program is actually being rolled out. There's a whole operation here that is assisting the parish has the Animal Services Department.
Right.
And this national group is here working with us, setting up shop to actually try to capture as many situations where you don't want to call them abandoned animals. A lot of times they're still at their homes. But to the degree we want to try to do that and reunite those animals with their owners if they're lost, that is going to be happening, and we feel very good about that. I think I can provide more details tomorrow, but there is a program for strays and others, and if they're licensed, I believe the rule they have is they will hold these animals for 30 days, which is a long time, so that at any point in there, especially let's say you have a tagged animal, we can reunite that animal with the owner. So they will be here a while, and as we just need to get more information out.
Well, like if you're not in your home, perhaps you'd like to be reunited with your animals, but you can't provide for them until your home is fixed. And, you know, if you're at a hotel, the hotel may not allow you to bring your dogs and cats in there, so.
Yeah, now I'll say this, I don't have an answer for an individual hotel arrangement, but I do know that we will have a lot of food. We already have a lot of food being shipped in, so that however that animal got to us, and it's usually going to be a phone call, maybe by the owners, we can, house that animal for a good 30 days, and that includes shelter and food. If I can find out maybe a specific example like that where there may be more, we certainly will try to get a more detailed answer. But it's a lot of good news that for most folks, I think it will be a good solution.
Thank you. And you said 4 tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow's briefing will be same place, same time, 4 p.m. here at the Parish Government Building. Thank you.